They were the richest family in the East, 4 powerful sons, a house built on gold, silence, and blood. But every bride that entered their gates never left alive until one woman said no and turned their kingdom of darkness into dust. The curse beneath the gold, a story of wealth, sacrifice, and one woman who broke the chains.
In the heart of Enugu, Nigeria, there stood a mansion so grand that people called it the House of Heaven. Built atop a green hill surrounded by thick trees and iron gates, it belonged to the Ezennia family, a name that echoed in every corner of the East. They were owed money, rich beyond measure, owners of petrol stations, oil wells, import companies, real estate empires, and even political strings. But underneath their golden name, there was a secret so dark that even the soil beneath their compound held its breath. The Ezennia family had 4 sons: Chokuma, the eldest and the most aggressive; Nonso, the smooth-talking second son; Obiora, the quiet but calculating third; and Ebuka, the youngest, handsome, soft-spoken, and kind-hearted, or so he seemed. Their father, Chief Anthony Ezennia, was a man whose wealth never made sense. He never worked in any known office, but his influence stretched beyond borders. What people didn't know was that the Ezennia riches were built on a blood covenant, one rooted in ancient rituals passed down from their great-grandfather. The price of power was steep. Every first bride that married into the Ezennia family must be sacrificed. It was this ritual that kept their fortune flowing, their enemies falling mysteriously, and their name feared. When Chokuma turned 28, he married Edeora, a beautiful, gentle lady from Anambra. Their wedding was the talk of the town. It was said that the wedding cake was flown in from Paris, and the bride's gown came from Milan. But only 2 months after the wedding, Edeora fell sick. Doctors found nothing wrong. She started seeing shadows in her dreams, hearing drums in her sleep, and feeling like she was being choked at night. One midnight, she screamed, clutched her chest, and died before help could come. Her body was taken away quietly. No one was allowed to see her corpse. The official story was cardiac arrest, but only the Ezennia men knew the truth. Her blood had been poured at Okumiri Shrine, a forbidden place deep in a forest, to renew the family's power. 3 years later, Nonso married Kaameka, a smart lawyer from Abuja. Strong, intelligent, and full of life. But just like Edeora, 2 months after the wedding, she began losing her memory. Then her voice. Then her mind. She was found naked in the compound one morning, muttering words that sounded like incantations. She was taken to a spiritual hospital abroad, they said. But no one ever saw her again. Nonso never mourned. Instead, his businesses boomed even more, and he became a state commissioner. Obiora's wife, Ngozi, was a quiet teacher from Ebonyi. Humble and religious. She died in a car accident barely 3 months after their wedding. Her brakes had failed mysteriously. Obiora didn't shed a tear. Then came Ebuka, the last son. Unlike his brothers, he wasn't flashy. He hated the rituals but was trapped in the family curse. His mother, Lolo Ifeoma, had begged him to follow tradition and not break the lineage's spiritual contract. But everything changed when he met Amarachi. She was not like the others. A medical student and orphan, Amarachi was raised by her grandmother in Saka. She had beauty, but it was her spirit that stood out. Bold, prayerful, and fearless. When Ebuka met her at a charity event, he was struck not just by love, but by something stronger, like destiny. He married her, reluctantly agreeing to the family's demand that the ritual must continue. But Amarachi, she was no ordinary girl. 2 weeks after the wedding, Amarachi started having dreams of a dark river and chanting voices. She began to pray, fasting and speaking in tongues. Then, one night, she followed Ebuka without his knowledge, into the forest of Okumiri, the shrine of sacrifice. She hid in the shadows, her heart racing as she watched her husband, his brothers, and Chief Ezennia in red robes, chanting before an ancient idol. Her name was on the scroll they were reading. They were about to offer her blood. "Let her spirit be taken," Chief Ezennia said, raising a calabash filled with blood. "Let her womb be sealed. Let her soul empower our empire." But just as they poured libation, a lightning bolt cracked through the sky, striking the idol. The earth shook. Amarachi stepped out from her hiding place, dressed in white. Her eyes were glowing. She was not afraid. "You dare touch a daughter of Zion," her voice thundered, but it wasn't her voice alone. It echoed like many waters. Chief Ezennia shouted, "What have you done? I am covered by a covenant greater than yours. You offer blood. I walk in fire." She lifted her hand and began to pray. Fire erupted from the ground. The idol cracked. The ground split beneath the shrine. The ancient gods demanded justice. Suddenly, spirits of all three sacrificed wives appeared: Edeora, Kaameka, Ngozi, their faces pale, their voices crying for revenge. They circled the men. Chokuma screamed. His body ignited. Nonso tried to run but fell into the burning split in the earth. Obiora cried, "Please," as his eyes turned white and he collapsed. Ibuka fell to his knees. "I didn't want to do it, Amarachi. I love you. I was forced." The spirits paused. Amarachi looked at him. "You will live, Ibuka," she said. "But your name will never carry the weight of your father's. You must rebuild what they destroyed." As she spoke, Chief Ezennia tried to stab her, but his hand froze midair. His face twisted. He screamed and turned to dust before their eyes. By morning, the mansion of Ezennia was in flames. Authorities were called. Journalists swarmed the estate. Hidden shrines, charms, and mummified women's bodies were found beneath the compound. The media called it the House of Rituals. Ibuka was arrested but later released after full investigation showed he was not involved in the killings. Amarachi had testified, and the truth shocked the nation. She became known as the girl who broke the curse. She opened a foundation to rescue other women in spiritual marriages and expose cults hiding behind wealth. Ibuka. He now lives in humility, working with NGOs. He never remarried. Sometimes, he watches Amarachi on TV, standing beside world leaders, advocating for justice. Her eyes are no longer just beautiful, they are powerful. And whenever she prays, you can still hear the thunder, because some daughters are born to silence evil forever. After the trial, Amarachi's name became a symbol of courage. International media covered the story. The headline on BBC Africa read, "The woman who exposed generations of rituals." From the White House to rural villages in Nigeria, her story was told as one of defiance, light, and deliverance. The Ezennia Empire collapsed. Their companies were frozen. Properties seized. Politicians who once bowed before Chief Ezennia now avoided even whispering his name. Amarachi, however, did not celebrate. She mourned for Edeora, Kaameka, Ngozi, and all the countless silent women whose names the shrine had swallowed. She created the Forgotten Daughters Initiative, an NGO focused on rescuing women from cult-based marriages and spiritual bondage. Victims came forward from across the country. She gave them shelter, healing, and voice. Ibuka, the last surviving Ezennia son, kept his word. He sold what little he had left and opened a rehabilitation center in Nsaka. The sign read, "Ibuka Center for Restitution and Reform." He swept floors, planted trees, and counseled others like him. He never asked for pity. Every Sunday, he watched Amarachi on TV, speaking, teaching, helping. And each time, his eyes watered not from regret, but gratitude. She had saved his soul. One night, Amarachi had a dream. She stood at the edge of a golden river. From it rose Edeora, Kaameka, and Ngozi. They smiled, not in sorrow, but peace. You ended it, Edeora said. You freed us, Kayamika whispered. You remembered, Ngozi wept. As they faded into the light, Amarachi woke up in tears. The air was still. The curse was gone. Wealth built on blood is a house made of dust. And even if it stands for 100 years, one woman with light can bring it to the ground. This was Amarachi. The daughter who said no. The light in the curse. The woman who broke the gold.